This driver training video by 13cabs is designed to help you recognise passengers with disabilities and explain your responsibilities towards them. Many people with disabilities are unable to drive or take other forms of public transport. Therefore, they rely heavily on taxis as a primary means of mobility. As drivers for 13cabs, you are required to recognise and respect all passengers with disabilities and equally recognise and respect their assistance dogs. You must accept their fares and offer help when requested. Severe penalties will be applied if you fail to accept a fare from a disabled passenger or if you refuse to allow an assistance dog or guide dog to travel in your cab. Both Brendan and Jackie are in wheelchairs. Their story is one of discrimination by some Melbourne taxi drivers who deliberately refuse their fares and leave them waiting, often for many hours.
Oh, when I get a taxi, I usually get a sedan. I'll usually open the door myself and the taxi driver will be out and ask me if I want help, and I actually usually take my chair apart for myself, but not all taxi drivers know about these chairs that don't fold up, so I will go through the process of trying to educate the driver.
All you have to do is pop the wheels off, put the wheels in the boot and put the frame on the back seat.
They're quite light, they're about, this one's about 8 kilos, but you've got to treat it with respect as well. It might be a metal object, but these cost around $10,000 to $12,000.
So if I'm telling you, take the wheels off in this way or put them back on in this way or lift my chair and put it in the boot in this way, do it, because it'll save time and it'll also look after your taxi and my wheelchair as well. This service is really important in allowing our independence and allowing us to live full and independent lives just like everybody else. And I would say, as a wheelchair user, using taxi services is more important for me than the general public, and I rely on it more so that when I'm in a taxi and paying for a service, deliver me a good quality of service, because I spend a lot of money in this area of my life.
Most drivers are familiar with guide dogs and the important role they play assisting their owners. Yet despite their obvious disability, passengers with guide dogs like Catherine and Tanya are still discriminated against and kept waiting.
I'd say 9 times out of 10, if I call a taxi, I'm going to have a problem. I'll have the driver either pass us on the street without picking us up. I will have the driver roll down the window and say, "Oh, is that a guide dog? Oh, I'll be back," and then they don't come back. I've had drivers who say, "Oh no, I won't have a dog in my cab." And even when I have had a driver pick me up, I've had comments saying they wish they could charge blind people extra so they could have their cab cleaned.
Of course, I've had my times where taxi drivers have driven away. It upsets me, it makes me frustrated. I understand that a lot of taxi drivers are frightened of dogs. They come from different cultures, different countries. They have lots of dogs that roam the streets there and attack. Guide dogs are nothing like that.
When I get in a taxi, I angle my dog so he is facing away from the driver. I make sure that his paws, his face, nothing touches the taxi. He's either completely in the footwell or he has got his paws on my leg.
I deliberately make a point of making sure that she is very clean. I brush her just about every day.
Guide dogs are easily recognised, but assistance dogs can be large or small, and they're just as important to their owners because of the important role they play. We met Monique, Jabin and Roxanne and their dogs to find out what sort of assistance they're trained to offer and how they've been treated by Melbourne's taxi drivers.
Assistance dogs come in all sizes, shapes, varieties, breeds, mixed breeds. The most important thing that defines an assistance dog is that the dog is trained to mitigate somebody's disability. So that doesn't limit them to being a Labrador, it doesn't limit them to being a certain weight or a certain size. It just matters that they are able to do the job for which they are trained.
If you have any fears or concerns, just talk to the person about it in a nice and pleasant manner, because I'm sure that something can be worked out.
Assistance dogs are a vital part of many disabled people's recovery, treatment and progress. They help their people to get by and do everyday tasks that they would not be otherwise able to do without the help of their dogs.
As you've seen, disabilities take many forms. Not everyone who is disabled is in a wheelchair, and not every assistance dog looks like a guide dog. But when in doubt, you can always check official identification. But most importantly, as a driver for 13 Cabs, you must not discriminate. You must accept fares from disabled people, and if they have a guide dog or an assistance dog, you must allow them into your taxi. It's not just the right thing to do, it's the law. If you discriminate by refusing a fare and you are reported by the passenger, you will face a penalty by being taken off the road for further training.